what I've been doing typically is every Monday night, regardless if it's freestyle season or if it's folk style season, I do folk style top and bottom, regardless. But after trying to transition and hurriedly transition into freestyle, because you get out of folk style and before you know it, you've got kids, you've got junior and cadet freestyle state. You have in April, right? Your Reno ends that first weekend of April, Reno Worlds, and then within 2 weeks you have the state tournament. So I've got to expedite things pretty quickly. So right now we're doing only freestyle, but after kids freestyle state, which I believe is the first week of June, it's around June 3rd or 4th, like that weekend, USA State for kids, and it's Greco State for the high school kids. After we finish that, then Mondays are going to go back to folk style. And the reason I didn't used to do that, but the reason I started doing that was because, you do freestyle and basically, after Fargo, you get back in there on, in August, take a week or two off after Fargo, and then start getting back in there in August. And, it's like having to relearn it again, so to speak, even for myself coaching wise. I've been doing for so long, but as a coach, when you're doing freestyle and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I'm getting back into folk style. So for me too, it's to keep everything fresh. And what I like to do on my Monday nights, and this is during the folk style season, is I really like to focus on top bottom because I noticed that myself coaching, with the club, it's easy to get on your feet and go over offensive attacks. That's fun, wrestle on your feet. And then, then you try to squeeze in, you remember, oh crap, I didn't do, we got to get some bottom in here. You know what I mean? So I said to myself, I'm dedicating one full day for top and bottom just to make sure I'm really, getting that in. And then we'll still do it in the other practices as well. But, I don't feel as bad if I end up, not getting something,
Yeah. And wrestling is such a,
and I also added scrambles. So we started doing on Monday nights, top bottom folk style, but then also, Iranian position where you're coming over, you're doing your ankle roll and you're all that type of stuff and doing some actually some wrestling and some sparring out of those, funk positions. We do that a lot as well on on Monday nights.
wrestling is such a skill intensive sport, and it's like that makes a lot of sense in terms of being able to retain that folk style skill. Do you feel like when you go from maybe a folk style top bottom practice during freestyle season and then it comes in competition, is that something that is sometimes hard for kids to kind of differentiate? Like if you get taken down, it's like, go flat, silly, things like that. Or if you get caught up in a scramble, understanding, you can't expose your back, maybe if you're,
I think the way I teach freestyle, I think it's a very easy transition for our kids. And the reason for that is I really don't think there's that much of a difference between folk style and freestyle. Obviously, gut wrenching and laces and things like that. And what I focus on is getting into the troubled areas. I do a lot of okay, you're in on a high crotch, right? And the kid that only wrestles folk style, right? He allows his hips to get high and he gets easily turned with a chest wrap or a crotch lift or something like that. Or, you shoot a single and the folk style kid is just holding on, and then allowing himself to get tilted and turned, he doesn't feel that. So I try to just basically everything is the same. The offensive techniques that I'm showing during folk style season remain the same in freestyle. I do a lot of, it's the basic stuff. If you watch senior level guys, for the most part, the stuff they're doing is, snap down block, go behinds. They're, they're high crotch, it's single, it's a double leg. Now where it differs is using the double leg, okay, to drive them out of bounds and get your push out, right?
Yeah.
Or, you have an underhook on a guy and you'll push them to the zone in freestyle and you're keeping them in the zone. So we do certain drills where, let's say one guy's in the zone, one guy's not in the zone, and one guy will have an underhook, one guy will have an overhook, and we'll drill. Okay, the guy who is in the zone with the overhook, he's trying to circle out. Well, I've got to keep my head in front of him. I maybe drop to a high single leg and I drive him out of bounds for one. Then we'll switch it and be like, okay, now I'm the defensive guy where I'm now going to use that overhook to redirect him because he maybe pressures a little too hard. And now I'm able to use that overhook to steer him out of bounds. And now I actually get to push out on him, being the guy who has the overhook and I had the disadvantage. I can turn him and steer him out of bounds. So we do a lot of those type of drills so the kids, can learn. My high school kids all pick it up pretty good, pretty quickly, and they have to because they have USA State. It's usually about like I want to say like the 17th or 14th or 15th of
Folk
April.
style or freestyle? Oh yeah,
Freestyle
yeah.
State,
It's
yeah.
like this. It's like
So
the
my
second or
16,
third.
let's say 16U and the juniors, right? They end up they kind of pick it up pretty quickly, a lot of them. And I try to get them in those scenarios where they can let the match get away from them in freestyle. So we do a lot of like, not a lot, but we practice. I shoot a double leg. The guy wraps a chest wrap up and he's looking to elevate me and tilt me over. Well, I'm going to post my hand. I'm going to cartwheel over and get my hips to the far side. And what I do is I explain, I go, this is actually, you use this in folk style as well. If somebody tries to high flyer you, where they grab the chin and they come under
Yeah.
and they try to do like a funky high flyer technique, like a Mantanona would do or something like that, or a Keegan O'Toole, you've got to post your hand, cartwheel over to the far side. You got to feel that as well. So, a lot of the stuff you're doing in freestyle will transition to folk style, some of the skills. Obviously, the point scoring is different. The strategy is different. But a lot of it does transition over, I think, in my opinion.